Kekele FM.
Umutekano w'imibereho iterambere ry'umuturage. Radio Imanzi 105.1 FM. Twese hamwe birashoboka.
We got you updated. This is Radio Imanzi News in English.
This is Radio Imanzi broadcasting from Kigali. Here is the news in English, brought to you by Fiona Umuganwa. The headlines. The government of Rwanda tabled a bill in the Chamber of Deputies this afternoon to establish legislation for transplant surgery services and teaching programs for fellowship. A Rwandan delegation headed by the Secretary General of Rwanda Investigations Bureau, retired Colonel Jano Ruhunga, is in New Delhi, India, where they are attending the 90th Interpol General Assembly. Zimbabwe has become the first country in Africa to approve a long-acting injectable drug that prevents HIV transmission. Welcome back. News in detail. A Rwandan delegation headed by the Secretary General of Rwanda Investigations Bureau, retired Colonel Jano Ruhunga, is in New Delhi, India, where they are attending the 90th Interpol General Assembly. On the sideline of the ongoing assembly, the Rwandan delegation held a series of bilateral meetings with police chiefs and other high-ranking officials from law enforcement agencies in Europe and Africa. The 90th Interpol General Assembly focuses on strengthening collaborative response to financial crime and corruption, governance and data processing, as well as operational and strategic partnerships. The government of Rwanda tabled a bill in the Chamber of Deputies this afternoon to establish legislation for transplant surgery services and teaching programs for fellowship. Through an explanatory note of this draft law regulating the use of human organs, tissues and cells, the government said it will help patients who go abroad to seek kidney and liver transplants and other transplant services to get these services in the country. In the last 7 years, Rwanda has sent 67 patients for kidney transplants abroad, where it costs over 12 million Rwandan francs per patient, totaling to approximately 856 million Rwandan francs. The government hopes that the introduction of transplant surgery will reduce the expenditures for patients referred abroad. Again, it said the adoption of the law will also have a positive impact on the economy with revenues from medical tourism. According to the bill initiators, the required age for donor of organs, tissues and products of the human body was at least 21 years, while the wish was that the minimum age for donors be 18 years, in line with the general practice globally. The Minister for Infrastructure, Ernest Nsanzimana, has said the government has paid most of the 35.4 billion Rwandan francs it owed to residents whose properties were affected by electricity projects countrywide, as MPs will push for timely and fair compensations. He revealed the progress while appearing before the Chamber of Deputies to provide responses to issues related to water and electricity access across the country. Santimana told lawmakers that from the fiscal year 2016-2017 until September 2022, the Rwanda Energy Group and its affiliated entities received over 96,700 files, which required compensations amounting to over 35.4 billion Rwandan francs. Among them, he said 81.2% or 78,520 files worth over 28.2 billion Rwandan francs have been paid so far through the allocation budget, while the remaining files have not yet been paid. He said that in the city of Kigali, the 5% additional compensation was being paid in case of delays, but pointed out that there is a need to see whether it is also done countrywide because that money should be included. Meanwhile, he told lawmakers that overall electricity access among Rwandan households is at 74% currently, while the target is to achieve universal electrification in 2024. Recent information from the Rwanda TVET board shows that the technical and vocational education and training enrollment rate is at 31%. This indicates an apparent gap, seeing that the goal is to enroll 60% of 9 years basic education graduates into TVET by 2024. According to Pierre Nambajimana, a teacher of Collège La Lumière de Gashonga, they received 55 students out of 160 students placed in the school. He said people's mindsets have shifted for the better compared to the past years. The major problem today is the distance from schools to students' homes. Students change to nearer schools. Nambajimana added that others choose different schools when they fail to get their preferred combinations. He said even though people's mindsets towards TVET are changing, the enrollment is still low.
Economic news is a regular feature on Radio Imanzi.
The Rwanda Stock Exchange Market Report. The trading session recorded its turnover of 5,494,709,468 Rwandan francs worth of bonds traded in 5 deals on the fixed income market, while the equities market remained quiet. The equities counters closed with Bralirwa at 170 Rwandan francs, Bank of Kigali at 272 Rwandan francs, I&M Bank at 43 Rwandan francs, Simirwa at 120 Rwandan francs, MTN Rwanda at 176 Rwandan francs, Equity Bank at 440 Rwandan francs, Kenya Commercial Bank at 370 Rwandan francs, National Media Group at 1,200 Rwandan francs, Uchumi Supermarket at 104 Rwandan francs, and R8 Buffer closed the counter at 526 Rwandan francs as the market closed. The currency market review of today. Burundian franc buying price was 0.5 and the selling price was 0.51. Ugandan shilling buying price was 0.27 and the selling price was 0.275. Tanzanian shilling buying price was 0.44 and the selling price was 0.45. The Kenyan shilling buying price was 8.5 and the selling price was 8.7. The euro buying price was 1,019 and the selling price was 1,039. The British pound buying price 1,173 and the selling price 1,196. The US dollar buying price 1,036 and the selling price 1,057.
Some items of international news on Radio Imanzi.
Zimbabwe has become the first country in Africa to approve a long-acting injectable drug that prevents HIV transmission. According to the World Health Organization, the drug may be offered to people at substantial risk of HIV acquisition as part of comprehensive HIV prevention approaches. The first two injections of the drug called cabotegravir CAB-LA are administered 4 weeks apart, followed by an injection every 8 weeks. The drug has received regulatory approval in 2 other countries, the US and Australia. The head of the UN mission in Mali has asked the Security Council for the necessary means to ensure its mandate in a country where the security situation remains volatile in several regions and where its actions are subject to restrictions. This comes after former peacekeepers were killed Monday by an improvised explosive device, and El Ghassim when described a very difficult security, humanitarian and human rights situation. 3 people have died of cholera and 39 have been infected in the Minao refugee camp in Cameroon's far north region. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees said it was deeply saddened by the death of 3 refugees from cholera. The UN agency said in a statement it was working with the Cameroonian government and UN agencies to provide urgent care for those who are ill and to break the chain of transmission. Former USA President Donald Trump is scheduled to answer questions under oath in a lawsuit filed by Eugene Carroll, a magazine columnist who has accused the former United States president of raping her in the mid-1990s in a department store dressing room. The deposition, if it takes place as planned today, will give Carroll's lawyers a chance to interrogate Trump about the assault allegations, as well as statements he made 3 years ago when she told her story publicly for the first time. Trump's legal team has worked for years to delay his deposition in the lawsuit, which has filed when he was still president. A federal judge rejected his request last week for another delay, saying he could not run the block out of plaintiff's attempt to gain a remedy for what allegedly was a serious wrong. With that, we come to the end of tonight's edition.